to start with Greg.
Greg Hunter, Golden Gold News, as we talked yesterday. But so you start off with, obviously now that practice started, you've gotten a little feel of this team. Strengths that you think you have, shoot it well, defend it well, pass it well. What are things you've seen so far you think you do well?
I've really liked the progress we've made from June until now, just in terms of like the offensive concepts and things. I feel like our identity as an offense is getting better. Ball movements really improved, shot selection, those type of things. And then defensively, again, just with all of the new guys and concepts and terminology, I think we're starting to figure out some of the positioning that we're looking for. It's been great on the half court as the fall portion of it, and then when we've gotten to our Friday scrimmages, we've had some slippage. So that's the part that we're trying to kind of clean up on the most.
John Antonic, WVUsports.com. Two guys you added, the two bigs. Walk us through those and your thought process of what you're doing.
Yeah, we added a Harrison Abraham fairly late in the process, but much needed, and we're hoping that they can find a way to give us some minutes, and even more importantly, I think it's really added to our depth in the front line, just for practice and being able to compete at a higher level there, to have four guys now that we can play on the blue and whites and be able to get through an entire practice. So I'm hoping they're playing catch up a little bit, that they can continue to grow and expand their roles and fight for some of that playing time.
Keenan Cummings, WVUsports.com. I know you didn't have your full roster yet. What did you learn about this team when you were at Renetta?
I think the biggest thing was just learning, some guys love the water, some guys don't. We took them swimming. Some guys like the spaghetti, some guys don't. But it's, I think I'm joking about it, but that's also kind of what you figure out about your team a little bit is, who are they as you're hanging out for 10 days and you just got your whole group and you're doing tours and that type of stuff. But on the basketball floor, I liked the way they came together and played. I thought the three games were all a little bit different. They did what they needed to do in terms of playing well and winning the game fairly handily. But got to play a lot of guys, got a ton of minutes for everyone. So that was the reason you take those trips, and most importantly, got nobody hurt.
Justin Jackson with the Dominion Post. If you got guys who didn't like the spaghetti over there, you got to cut them.
I think it was some of the sauce. They didn't like the pesto sauce, maybe.
With Yesufu, is he back yet? Is he able to do more? I mean, what are you seeing there with him?
Yeah, he's been participating in practice. He's been full speed. It's also for him. You got to remember he's been out for 8 months, so he's still working his way back, even though he's been back for a few weeks. So that process is kind of open-ended on how long that'll take for him to feel like he's back to 100%. But he is out there and working his way to that point.
He's obviously been with you before, so is there familiarity there? I mean, maybe he doesn't have to catch up maybe as much as some of the other guys do, or
yeah, he certainly understands the terminology, the concepts, everything right there. That's gives him a chance to catch up a lot quicker than someone that's brand new. He understands what the expectations are as well. Like every coaching staff has different things that they love and don't love as much, and he understands what those are. So I think he's doing some good things. Again, it's just we're realistic too about how quickly that is going to happen for him to get back to where he feels like he's fully back.
Bob Herzl from Fairmont and Clarksburg, many other places. Anyway, have you kind of sat back and looked at the preseason rankings and seen that 6 of the top 9 teams are from the conference you've moved into, and you had any second thoughts about that, or saying maybe life's easier elsewhere?
Yeah, it's a good league. I mean, we all know that, and obviously that top end, you understand like the preseason rankings don't mean a lot, especially now in the portal area. But it also says a lot about some of those teams and what they have returning, and how good the league is, and that's. Our guys are excited about that. They're excited about the challenges and opportunities that are in front of us. But we also know that it's every single night you're going to be playing, one of the best teams in the country.
Do you expect it to be a while to get to that level, or do you expect it to come out the door at that level?
I mean, our goal is to come out and compete every night and try to win every single game, and that's going to continue to be our goal every day moving forward. And our guys right now, they're preparing to go do that, and the wins and losses, those will play out as we get into the season here. But right now we got 29 practices left before our first game, and that's our focus.
Bob's point. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, to Bob's point though, you got to be good pretty quick. You got UMass, you got Robert Morris, you're at Pitt, and you go to the Bahamas for those tough games, Georgetown. Then you get into your Big 12 schedule. You got to be good pretty quick.
Yeah, we made sure we challenged ourselves right away. In our first year here. No, it's a good schedule. It's a good non-conference schedule, and we know what the league schedule is, and now going up to 20 games in the Big 12 play. So, we understand that. We understand what in order to be successful, we're going to have to be really good in certain areas, and those are the things we'll continue to focus on.
I know once the semester started, you guys are kind of still like in a workout schedule, but preseason practice, I mean, it's fully started now. Like, when did that?
Yeah, we just started yesterday. Yeah, and we won't. I mean, you do a little more film work and some things like that extends kind of the duration of time. But we don't. I'm not a 3-hour practice guy. We try to keep our intensity level up, shorten it maybe 90 minutes, but make sure we're doing everything at kind of a high octane level and try to make them practice the way they're going to perform in a game as much as possible.
But now you are in basketball mode, right?
We are in basketball mode.
Yeah.
I think we've been in it for a while.
Sure.
But it does change, just that added time. And then when it is official practice, you get that little more sense of urgency of like that first game's around the corner. And like we told the guys yesterday, it starts 30 days. We get 30 practices, 42 days before our first game. Now there's 29 left, and that doesn't stop. So it's, we got a lot to do. We feel like we've made a lot of progress from June until now, and certainly feel like there's more steps to take between now and then, and obviously throughout the season. But they're working hard at it, and I like their approach.
You were kind of talking over the summer before you went to Italy, mixing that chemistry, getting it. Where are you guys at now with that? I imagine probably a little further along.
Yeah, we got a much clearer identity, I think, as a coaching staff of what we think it should look like, and some of the roles are starting to get more defined. They're certainly not, set in stone by any means, but the guys are still competing for, starting spots, for role spots, and all the way across. So, and we want that. We don't want the guys to get complacent in September here. So, but again, I think our identity is starting to show up, and now it's just trying to get that identity to be on a more consistent basis every day.
You try to. Go ahead, Ken.
No, go ahead, John.
I'm just thinking at the same time. Go ahead, bud.
Kevin Kender from the Blue and Gold News. Coach, looking at your offenses in past years, it seems a little positionless, a lot of interchangeability, especially on the perimeter. Is that something you strive for, or has that just been kind of the character of your personnel? What level, on that path is this team?
Yeah, we certainly try to play offense that way. We try to have it be as positionless as possible, open up the floor as much as possible as well. There'll be times that we're really positionless with 1 through 5, just with a little bit of our lack of size. But I do think on the offensive end we have guys that. Multiple guys that can handle it, play make, space the floor, which is something that we try to do. Put a huge emphasis on ball movement, and then taking care of the basketball. That's probably our number one priority that we talk about every single day. Is just not turning the ball over and making sure we get as good an opportunity as we can. And Monty Hansberry, just to get specific, he's an undersized, 5 men, but he's also going to present some opportunities for us on the offensive end with his ability to space the floor. So we got to be able to utilize that component since we are undersized, but then on the defensive end, get creative in how we can kind of protect ourselves with a little bit of lack of size on that side of the floor.
So in that, on the the offensive end, your bigs have to do what to make this offense successful?
They touch the ball a lot in space, so they have to be able to have the ball up at the top of the key and make decisions. They don't have to break people down, but they got to be able to throw a back cut pass. They got to be able to dribble handoff, and then be able to roll or pop depending on what their best scenario is for them. But that we do ask them to be involved with the offense a lot more out on the perimeter than maybe a lot of offenses would.
I know you're learning your team, and that's a continual process. Would it be fair to say that you still don't know about them when things are bad? I mean, your son, some of the guys that you work with. You try to create things to try to learn about them, how things go when things aren't going well?
Yeah, I'm the ref every day, so yeah, I give them plenty of bad calls. So and they look at me, I was like, I didn't see it, yeah, we try to put them in situations where it's stacked against them a little bit to create a little, some of that. I think on every team, every single year, whether you got a lot of returners, there's always a piece or two missing from every team. In our case, we have a lot of new guys. And the hardest thing for every team is you've got to learn how to win together. And how do you do that? Because it's not always hitting 18 threes every night. So you have to figure out a win on a night where you're 2 for 15 and you're getting some tough calls or you're on the road. How do you find a way to win those games? And right now it's just me giving them bad calls. But we're getting there, and that's a process as well. And it's a lot of times that doesn't happen on November 4th either. That's a season-long process of how do you fight through adversity and find a way to, from a mental toughness standpoint, how do you figure out a way to win those games?
I guess that's the secret, right? Figuring that out and still winning. That's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Everybody learns from losses, right? But being able to learn from wins and all that too, I guess.
It all matters. I mean, every single night you're going to learn something new about your team. Every single practice, I think you learn something new about your team, and just make sure you're continuing to, make the steps you need to make to be more successful.
Coach, obviously the Italy trip was like a month and a half ago, but Powell did a lot of really good things for you guys over there. What's he been like since? I mean, was that maybe just a good week for him, or has he been as good as what he was, in Italy?
Yeah, he's done some really good things for us, and like a lot of incoming freshmen, he has really a good week, and then he'll have a week where he makes some of those mistakes. But what I love about him is his approach every single day. Is he just wants to get better. He wants to try to be great, and that's when you have someone that's willing to come and take that mindset every day. Those mistakes are a lot easier to overlook because he's just trying to do what he can to improve as an individual, and then also to help our team. And he's doing some really nice things. I think he's going to have a good freshman year for us if he continues with that type of mindset.
You mentioned identity earlier. What do you want this identity to be? What should other teams say about your team, ideally?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and it's our league on top of that, but I want our identity to be, you should be able to walk in that gym and everybody should walk out talking about how hard we play and how connected they are, feel that life and that energy every single day. And that's not only from the team, but also from our coaching staff, that enthusiasm and love to compete and try to play at the highest level. And the X's and O's pieces, I mean, we can talk about those sides too, but if you don't have those other things, then none of that probably matters.
You've used connected a couple of times, and even this summer, in describing things that you're looking for. I'm assuming some of that is just passing, ball movement, things like that. Anything else included in connected that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think connectivity as a defense is just as important because things happen on defense that you can't just draw up and script everything. So you have to be able to react and play off of one another, no differently than you do on offense. Being able to make plays, and when something gets thrown at you that's maybe not what you anticipated, how well do we cover for one another? And that communication piece and anticipation, and that's an important part of being a good defense. And even in our last 2 weeks, I think we've really progressed in that area of the floor as well. And now it's just getting in good enough shape to be able to do it when we play up and down and that type of stuff. And that's all, again, going to work itself out through this next month and a half, and then hopefully by game day be ready to roll.
John Beeline was here, and I assume you got together with him a little bit. Did you know him before, and did he give you any idea of what it's like coaching here?
Yeah, I mean, Coach has nothing but great things about his experience here, and it was great to have him and the entire team back. They came to watch practice. Then we had him, coach, and the whole team got a chance to say a few words to the team and talk to them about their time here, about West Virginia, about why they were successful. And then, I thought all of them did a great job, too, of, telling them how much they were behind them and pulling for them to be successful as they move forward, too. So great to have Coach back. I think most of you know, like, that they ended my season one year when I was at Creighton, and they were pretty quick to put that replay video up on the board. And so, but no, it was fun to have them all around and listen to their stories, and that was a great team, great coach.
You had that scout, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Came down on the last play.
Yeah. Coach said he is designed, like they work on that every day. I said, you stole the ball and dunked it, No, that was a fun NCAA tournament game, at least for them.
Similarly styled teams too, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was a great matchup. Coach had his 1-3-1 and kind of his high post back cuts and all the flare screens that they ran made it difficult and challenging to guard them. Pittsnoggle out there at 6'10", firing threes from 25 feet. So.
Funk was pretty
Yeah,
good
for
too.
what it's worth, we still talk about
Yeah,
Nate
it was
Funk.
fun.
Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah.
No, it was good.
Anything about this team surprised you so far? I know it's early, but positive or negative?
I don't think anything's really stood out. I think that, again, the thing that you're most happy about is everybody's approach has been, still getting better. And, sometimes that can start to turn as you get into September and roles start to become a little more recognizable to everyone. But to our guys' credit, they've continued to come out every day, great attitude, put a smile on their face, and compete pretty hard.
What's your philosophy on playing time? And are you an experimental guy, or do guys have to earn their time on the floor? How do you go about that early in the year?
I mean, early in the year, your rotation will be a little bit bigger. As the year goes on, it probably settles into more of that 8 to 9 type of role, but always trying to make sure that you have guys ready. I've had some really bad luck as a head coach with some pretty significant injuries and things, and you find out very quickly in the course of a long season that you have to have guys always ready to step in, and it may be even just a non-starter, 6th, 7th man that now all of a sudden gets inserted in that starting role. I think Joe was a great example of his sophomore year with us at Drake. He was coming off the bench playing 10, 12 minutes a game. Had 2 starters go out, and he averaged, I think close to 30 his last 8 games. Maybe the coach should have played him a little more before that. But I think that's a great example of somebody just making sure that their approach stays the same. They continue to stay engaged with the team, and then when that opportunity comes, they're ready to take advantage of it.
I was talking to a former coach here who coached 30 years ago, and he said, I never had the top 3 guys in the league, but 8, 9, I was always there. Is that kind of how you want to build it? Maybe not top 3, but getting into the depth and rotations and so forth?
Can we have both? Sure. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think every team's different. I mean, there might be some years, I was at Creighton as assistant coach. You have Doug McDermott. Well, that's going to be your guy, and then everybody kind of fill in place. There might be other years where you have a couple guys, or 2 or 3 guys, and then more years maybe it's where it's just a complete balance, and we've had that before too. So I think every team takes on its own identity, and then as a coaching staff, you just got to try to play to that those strengths as best as possible.
You have top 3, you're really good then. Yeah, you're cooking with gas.
With Tucker's injury situation, do you have to be a little guarded with him, or you just got to let him play and keep your fingers crossed?
I think for the most part, right now, it's you got to let him play and be smart about some of the things you do. Maybe he takes 1 or 2 less reps in a rebounding drill that maybe you tell him, hey, I know we said to dive on the floor, but just pretend like you couldn't get to that one once in a while. But I think you just got to be smart with it. Like everybody, it's coming off an injury, just make sure you're being calculated on some of the drills you have him do or don't do. Same thing with Joe, like, managing some of his reps and some things like that.
Coach, I'm kind of curious with Hansberry in that, how do you kind of see, obviously he's going to be a little bit undersized, but maybe he's got the ability to make up for that, or maybe you can use him being undersized as an advantage. How do you kind of see the season playing out for him? Because, he's obviously got some potential there.
Yeah, I think offensively, if you're going to be 6'7" and you have the ability to shoot threes, you have to take advantage of that on the offensive end, because that is tricky to guard sometimes. So for us to be successful on offense, we have to be able to utilize Amani out in space some, and it's tricky a little bit because you can't always have him just popping either. You got to put some pressure on the rim with the pick and roll and having the ball handler and stuff. So he's been working through that too, of finding where can he choose his spots to pop and put pressure on the defense in a 5-man to draw out, get those 7-footers out in space, and when to put pressure on the rim as a roller in the pick and roll game. And so we're going to do everything we can to utilize kind of, okay, we're a little undersized there, but we also have some unique advantages of being able to play 5 out and him able to space the floor more, and we'll try to use that as much as to our advantage as we can.
Got to be your leading rebounder, do you think, or?
I don't think he has to be. I think we have a group. Positionally, even like Tucker and Toby at the 4 and the 3, they're 6'8" and 6'7". So it's really the 5 spot that we're a little bit undersized with Amani's in. When Eduardo's in, we're right there. So I think across the board, our positional size is pretty good. Defensive rebounding, though, to me is still a little bit of like a want to, and having a collective group that wants to go make sure we're hitting people and keeping people from getting where they can be in a position to just jump over us. So as long as we can continue to do that and get better in those areas, I think we'll be a good defensive rebounding team, and then we can go and play on offense.
You mentioned roles. A guy like Jaden Stone, how do you see him fitting in the picture, and what attracted you to bring him here?
Yeah, I like Jaden. He's one of those guys that came out of college and averaged 20 points a game last year at Detroit. The year before that, I think it was around 15. So he's figuring out how can he best utilize his talents on the offensive end. But I like what he brings, because he's got some athleticism. He can get to the rim. He's got a good mid range. He can shoot the 3. So I think he's as it's gone on, he's getting more and more comfortable with what we're trying to do at both ends of the floor, and I anticipate him, playing a good role for us this year.
Can you guys be defensively work in progress? Can you be really good?
We're
questionable?
We're definitely work in progress still. Yeah, let's start with that. But I do think we have the team that can be a good connected defensive team. I think we have good length in some spots. There are some areas where we're not maybe have elite, a big collection of elite individual defenders, but I think collectively as a group we could be really good defensively, and that's what you have to be anyway. So we've shown flashes, even in the short time we've had them this fall, where I thought on film it's like you go home and watch it and it's like we're getting there, and then you'll have a day where maybe we take a step back. But from June till now, we've made really good strides. We just got to continue to make those strides as we get closer to November.
I'm curious, you guys obviously took the trip to Italy. Anything else you guys explored in the off season, getting the guys together and saying, hey, let's go do this, or let's, and to try to,
We didn't have a ton of time this summer, just with everything being new for us too. And we did cancel practice and went bowling one day, and that might have been one of. It changed our team a little bit, which is crazy, because we were practicing, and all of a sudden we went bowling, and I saw all these personalities I hadn't seen on the basketball floor yet. I mean, guys are throwing strikes and they're doing windmills down the lane and chest bumping and things, and I thought it was great for us. I didn't anticipate that being what would come out of that day bowling, but all of a sudden now the next day in practice was like, guys, that personality as a team is in there. like let it shine on the floor too. When we have a big play and you have a teammate and you want to go celebrate a dunk, go celebrate. That's what it's supposed to look like. And so we don't have a lot of great bowlers, but that's okay. You know. Yeah.
No future pros.
No future pro bowlers. I didn't see any. I'm not a great bowler evaluator, but it didn't appear that way.
I was gonna say, did the coaches bowl too?
Yeah, we bowled. Yeah, we don't have any professional coaching bowlers either.
You mentioned getting used to the campus where everything is, all this, obviously with the new staff, but you haven't made a whole lot of moves. Was that a different kind of process for you? And was there anything you were like, hey, I've got to learn and know where this is first or how to do this first?
I think for me it was I had to find the eating spots. I was staying in a hotel, so that's where I made a lot of progress in my first month on the job. Overall, I think it's more just, like anything, just getting to know everyone, and when you need something, who do you call for this or that, whether it's academics or just something in the community, visits, official visits, those type of things. So that's just all comes with time and the process. But people have been unbelievably helpful, for myself, our staff, our team. I mean, I think anytime we talk about it, everybody talks about how engaging people have been and supportive and helping us along with that process as we're getting to know everything.
You mentioned official visits. So recruiting philosophy for you, obviously this year you had to take a lot of the transfers, but what's your percentage you think of high school guys? How much are you hitting the recruiting trail now? Obviously I'm sure a lot, but 25s, 26s, 27s, what's the recruiting look like?
Yeah, most of our focus has been on the 25s right now, and then 26s as well, but more on the 25s. And then that's our philosophy on it's a little bit of the year by year of what's our needs, how many can we take, and then kind of see how that plays out in the fall, and making sure though that you're also in a position in the spring to be able to fill some of those needs with graduation and maybe even unexpected transfers and that type of stuff. You have to be prepared to for any scenario in recruiting anymore as you get into the spring, and making sure that you have the ability to pivot quickly, to have a list of guys at every position that you can go out and recruit.
The unique thing about your roster is it's either seniors or freshmen with a little bit in between, so you got to balance that out, I guess, as the years go forward, right?
Yeah, in the ideal world, you wouldn't like to have 8 scholarships every year. You'd like to get that down more in that 4 to 5 range, or even a few years ago it used to be 1, 2, or 3, and that's recruiting's just changed a little bit. But 4, 5, 6, if that's kind of what you're signing every year, I think it just puts you in a better position to have more stability, more consistency, and that's ultimately what you want to get to as a program, where you can not have to rely on a little bit what we have this year of trying to reteach 12 new guys every year.
Territory-wise, and recruiting's coast to coast anymore, but do you try to concentrate on a territory in 5 hours around Morgantown, or what do you do?
Yeah, we're everywhere. I mean, our goal, even in putting the staff together, is to make sure we can touch coast to coast and internationally as well. And I think it used to be that regional area was you had to only make sure you recruited there. Now I think you have to be able to recruit everywhere. Now you still have to put a lot of 3 hours away is a good thing. That helps with getting family members here. They can come to the game. So you want to be incredibly strong in your region, but you also have to be able to make sure that you can touch anywhere you need to go to get guys.
About DC was a former player here last week I ran into, Damian Owens. That's a pretty good area. It's pretty close. Is that some place that you're pretty interested in?
Yeah, it's a very good area. Yeah, and Chester Frazier from our staff is born and raised there, so he's very strong ties to that area. So, but yes, that's an area we'll definitely recruit very heavily.
How much international flavor you have at Drake? I know you obviously have several here now, but did you have a lot at that Drake too, or?
We didn't have a ton. We had a couple. A lot of that, to be quite honest, is they just don't have the ability to, financially to fly over there and fly back a lot. So we weren't able to recruit quite as heavily internationally as now we can kind of be able to connect a little bit more than we were previously. But I just think that the game has become so worldwide that there's more kids willing to come over now and play college basketball. Where a few years ago, before NIL, maybe they were more just wanting to stay with their club team and stay overseas.
Coach Kevin Redford, Golden Blue Nation. Kind of on that note, Ofri, I know he's not one of your recruits, but last year kind of pitched to us as a developmental guy, stepped in when needed to. Still see him that way, or what's his contribution level looking like?
Yeah, he's continued to work hard. A great kid, gives us all he has, and again, like everybody, he's learning a new system and things, so he's working through that as well. But certainly I've enjoyed the way he approaches it every single day.
Yeah, treat him like a freshman all over again.
I mean, they're all kind of like freshmen in a way, just because it's all new to everybody. But again, he's been great, in the way he's approached it, and he'll continue to do good things for us there.
Greg Carey with West Virginia Metro News. What one aspect does the team need to make the most progress in before playing a meaningful game?
Consistency defensively is where we've got to make some strides. I mean, that's the one thing that shows up on tape right now is just especially as we continue to get deeper into practice and the conditioning starts to set in, is making sure like our positioning and those type of things that I think are so critical for us to be a good defensive team. They start to get a little stretched out, and now those opportunities to score become a little bit easier. So we're getting there. Those habits take a while to create. You don't create habits in a few weeks, but they're getting a lot better, and eventually you just get to that point where it kind of clicks, and that's we're not quite there yet, but I think we're getting closer to that.
Kind of what Greg was talking about with recruiting moving forward in the future. Would you like to do predominantly high school and build over time, or mix with transfers? Or?
I think you're going to have to do a mix. That's just the way college, all recruiting is in all sports. You have to be able to do both. Just because, in the spring, if you have an unexpected departure, you're going to have to be able to be strong in the portal and make sure you have those ties. And I think the biggest thing for us in recruiting is making sure in the high school recruiting we're spreading a very wide net, so that even with kids we don't maybe get the first time around, that there's a relationship that's already been formed and built, because those in the springtime when the portal happens, those recruitments are a lot of times 1 to 3 weeks. So you want to make sure that we've developed as many relationships as possible to put ourselves in a position to be strong in the high school recruiting, and then also be strong when the portal hits.
Curious, this may be a dumb question, but what is a good shot to you, and what is a bad shot?
The ones that go in and the ones that don't. Yeah, I don't talk to our guys a ton about shot selection. I want our guys to be very aggressive. I want them to be confident, and then if we need to pull them back a little bit, we will. But the last thing I think you can do with a shooter and a scorer is have them looking over their shoulder, and I want them to kind of figure it out on their own. And most of the time that happens. I think guys figure out, I haven't made this step back three in like 3 months. Maybe I shouldn't try that in the first game. And I think it kind of evolves from there. But I want guys that can score to go feel that they got the green light to go do that, and they can play at a different level. I always look back, and so 26 years, like the scout team or whatever jersey you put on them, red team or whatever, you see those guys in the practice tape and they're just dominating practice, and then you take that practice or their scout team jersey off and put the other uniform on them, and it's like they get scared, because on the scout team they get all this freedom and they don't have to worry about getting yelled at. They can play the other team's best player, and they can play at a different level, and that's how I want our guys to play offensively, is with that type of confidence.
Thinking back through your career, whether guys you worked with or even Eldon Miller, guys like that, were they all guys that gave you the green light, or were they guys that you're kind of smiling. I guess Eldon Miller wasn't that guy.
And I don't think Coach Miller's a little more defensive minded. Yeah.
Who's going to shoot where?
Yeah, maybe a
When.
little bit more. And I love Coach Miller,
Yeah.
but yeah, there wasn't a lot of green lights there. But.
So you had both of that through your career.
Yeah, and Eldon's a great coach, but I've had Coach Altman for a long time, Coach McDermott, both very good coaches in that regard of allowing players to be players and play through a few mistakes here and there, but also understanding like what winning and losing is too, and you can't let it get too far away from you as well. So that freedom comes with it. I tell our guys all the time, there's a great responsibility with that freedom of making sure that it doesn't become selfishly motivated freedom, that now all of a sudden we just got a lot of bad shots getting taken because it's your turn.
Those old school coaches, they hate the passing game because they don't know who's shooting it, and they've been four balance. That's the things they always complain about.
Yeah.
You don't know who's shooting it, you don't know how to,
Yeah, and we have a lot of freedom in our offense. A lot of guys are going to touch the ball, and then when we want to get a specific shot, we can dial up those numbers. But in general, again, over the course of time, I just think our guys understand what they're good at and what they're not as good at, and they play to their strengths as it evolves. But I never want them to stop growing their game either. So I want them to continue, especially in practice. You can continue to try things and stuff, but get on game day, know which one is going to help us win and which one you're maybe not quite ready for yet.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.